Alright people, I'm here to talk about my Foley Spoon rig. Well, first of all, when you throw a Foley Spoon, you're using a heavier weight. Most of the time I'm using a 1 ounce weight. So because of that, I need a little heavier rod than the typical skipjack rod or something you would throw flies or grubs with. So I got a somewhat heavier rod. It's actually an ugly stick catfish rod. I bought at Walmart on clearance for like $9 or something. But this gives me the backbone to throw that heavier sinker. Okay, now since I've got a bigger rod, I matched it with a little better size reel. This one's a Daiwa BG4000. I like a little wider spool. You get a little trout reel or a bluegill reel with a little narrow spool. For one, it don't hold as much line. The line don't want to peel off as easy. The line comes off easier on a bigger shaped spool. So, and plus this reel more or less matches the rod. Now I'm using 20-pound braid, okay, because it casts well, but yet it gives me enough strength to yank a 3 or 4 pound skipjack out if I ever catch one that big. Most of them weigh 1 pound to 2 pounds around here. But plus it's an immediate hook set, you know, when they hit, because there's no stretch. Anyway, I've got that 20-pound braid, and what I do here above this trolling weight is I buy these little filler spools like this of line. I ordered one 40-pound and one 80-pound. The 80-pound I tie about 1 foot or so to my braid above the sinker. And what that does is keep this sinker from flip-flopping and rolling around on you, because if you just use a thin line, it'll twist up in all these knots. Okay, so I tie a little piece of 80-pound, and of course, you can also double this up as catfish leader, you know. So it's good for 2 purposes. And then below the sinker, I'm running, I've got 40-pound on here. You can run 30 to 50. I use about 40, makes it a little easier to tie. Then of course the Foley Spoon itself, most of the time I'm using a chrome medium. Some types of the year a smaller one works better. I bounce back and forth between the medium and the small. Right now I'm using a medium. And of course this trolling sinker here has got a swivel on both ends, which makes it easy to tie and keeps the spoon from twisting. That's basically my Foley Spoon rig. It's my go-to choice for skipjacks. For one, it doesn't get all tangled up in the truck with all my other catfish rods. You start throwing multiple flies on a rod or grubs, everything wants to get tangled up. Them stupid grubs, they bite the tails off them, you're constantly replacing them. If there's any skipjack around, I can usually get enough to fish with a Foley Spoon. And it's a lot less hassle. One Foley Spoon will catch hundreds of skipjacks, so whereas them little grubs are constantly getting bit off, tails coming off, you know. So it's just what I prefer to use. There's some times of the year in the spring they might hit flies better. There's sometimes in the fall they might hit grubs better. There's sometimes they'll hit a Foley Spoon better than any of those other things. But if there's any around, I usually get enough to fish just by using the Foley Spoon. It's a lot less hassle, a lot less to fool with. So that's what I do. Skipjacks aren't biting great right now. It's still September. It's going to be October, November before I get a hot, heavy skipjack bite. But I've been coming out in the evening, you know, right before dark and getting 1 or 2 every evening. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. Of course, I've got a couple cut bait rods while I'm out here. You never know. Could be a big fish around. Probably the biggest advantage of a Foley Spoon over grubs or flies is the fact that I'm throwing this 1 ounce weight on light braid, is I can cover a lot more distance. If the skips ain't working close to the bank, I'm just covering a whole lot more water. So that's one advantage that the Foley Spoon does have over the grubs and the flies. That's how it's done right there, people. One thing I done is I made a couple throws slow the way I normally do. I wasn't getting no action. So I said, okay, I threw that one out and I just started burning it. You know. Sometimes that's how they want it. Some days they want it slow. Some days they want it slow, dragging the bottom. Some days they want it just ripping fast. That one hit on a ripping fast. The Foley Spoon, people, get you some. That's another benefit to using this heavier tackle on a skipjack. I see these guys, they're using this bluegill gear to catch skipjacks, and they get the skipjack up to the bank and they're trying to let it tire out. They can't hardly lift the thing, it'll break their line. I got all these rocks, treacherous bank here, you know. My skipjack, he's in ice while that guy's still fooling around trying to get his out of the water. So I can just yank him out of the water and be done with it, man. I just pull, wham, he's up here on the bank, you know. Heavy tackle, get her done, get it on ice. Don't fool with it on the bank there for 25 minutes trying to get it landed and have the thing flip off and get off and watch it swim away, and then you don't go catfishing that night because you ain't got no bait. Heavy tackle. Woo! One more thing I forgot to mention is I put my sinker roughly 28 to 36 inches above my spoon. You can see there's my spoon, there's my weight. Some people do it 24 inches, I'd say that's, shoot, you know, that's around 30 inches what I've got mine. Woo! There it is, people. Like I said, man, they're hitting right before dark. I'm getting a few a night. That's the pattern that's going on right now. It is what it is. I ain't gonna complain. I ain't gonna hesitate. I'm gonna go use this bait and I'm going catfishing. Woo! He ain't happy, but I am. Again, the benefits of the Foley Spoon. Both these fish I hooked, I'm throwing out there as far as I am my catfish rods. And I'm burning it out there. They're out there far out. They're not coming in close right now. That's what they're doing. And that's why this Foley Spoon is king sometimes, man. I'm getting distance with it. All right, people, that's about what I figured right before dark. I've been getting a couple a night. I think the most I've got here recently is like 7. Usually it's 2 or 3. Later on here, in another couple of weeks, once fall starts kicking in, right now I'm on the main channel on a point, cove over here, a point, the main channel. But here in a few more weeks, these skipjack are going to be moving into the backwater creeks, way back up in there into the culverts, that sort of thing. The minnows are stacking up in there now, and here before long, that's where the skipjacks will be, way back in those creeks, and that's where I'll be fishing for them all the way up until about December, all the way through December. But anyway, hope y'all enjoyed this video. This is Catfish Dave, signing out.